esteemed participants and esteemed resource person in the session. So we welcome all to this final session of this Atal FDP on quantum computing. So in this session, our resource person is Dr. Gaurav Trivedi from IIT Guwahati. So let me take the privilege to introduce Dr. Gaurav Trivedi. So he is currently working as associate professor in the Department of Tripoli, IIT Guwahati. He has obtained Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics from Sri Govindram Seksaria Institute of Technology and Science, Indore. He has obtained his MTech and PhD degrees from IIT Bombay, and his research areas include circuit simulation, analog, RF, and digital, and VLSI CAD, electronic system design, computer architecture, semiconductor devices, hardware security, embedded systems and IoT, high performance computing, large scale optimization, and machine learning. He has authored several journal papers, conference papers, book chapters, and books of international repute. So may I now request Dr. Trivedi sir to kindly start the session.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Manas, for introducing me. Uh, uh, Let me share the screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it is coming.
Okay. It is visible now, right?
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about low power quantum computing attack immune post quantum cryptography based on security solution for IoT devices. And this is the work I did with my PhD student Vikram Paul. He is working in the post quantum cryptography algorithm and its realization. So the work actually which I'm presenting here is not only on the PQC and why the PQC is required, but what actually we have achieved in this particular domain itself. Why actually I have included that why we have achieved in this particular domain, because in India, as per my knowledge, there are not many people. Hardly there is one or two people out there who are working in the realization of. I'm talking the silicon level realization of the post quantum cryptography algorithms. Okay, and my group is one of them. So specifically in this. Particular, you can say topic, I'm going to talk about some basics of the quantum computing and what are different methods are there. Our indigenous pseudo random number generator. Okay, and the critical component is the tensor multiplication in the post quantum cryptography algorithm. So design of a you can say very efficient tensor polynomial multiplication and its result, and there is you can say the fully homomorphic encryption based you can say PQC algorithm, which is passive. Actually, you can say it's a lattice bit PQC algorithm, and we use the learning with error fully homomorphic encryption scheme in this. Okay, so we are going to talk a little bit. You can say talking about further into its IoT variant, because this is because the need of the hour precisely is to provide you can say very high strength to the IoT devices. Okay, so that also is there. And second, and in the last, actually, we will talk about little bit on the chaos-based post-quantum cryptography algorithms. Because chaos precisely people have used in this cryptography, but how to use the chaos and all that precisely we need to we have identified, and we have generated our own class of the PQC algorithm. And the PQC, I think this is the first one worldwide which actually we have produced. So this work is the chaos-based the PQC algorithm was retuted by IEEE and IEEE, you can say, asked us to submit the paper on the, because usually once we submit the paper, they don't, you can say, they don't encourage people to, you can say, circulate it elsewhere or so. Nowadays, people put it on the archive. So they specifically told us to put on the tax archive, and which is the archive of the IEEE, which is an archive-like system of the IEEE. So we have put the paper on the tax archive, and IEEE retweeted this particular paper. So this will be the nice information actually I can provide in this entire, you can say, discussion. Okay, uh, so we begin with specifically the information security, right? Because when we talk about the cryptography actually comes with how to say, cryptography comes with the intention to secure the system, right? So in the digital world, okay, I need not to repeat that we actually have to transmit a large number of bits from one end to other end. Okay, and it was a yesterday's news itself. Okay, just 24 hours before that. China has come up with a new quantum computer, which is at least million times faster than the Google's Sycamore quantum computer. Okay, so that precisely is the threat. Okay, because we never know. Okay, and Chinese precisely are coming up with the hypersonic missiles also. Okay, the way they are moving. Okay, in technology area, I'm to say everybody will have to get scared because of their own mentality and all. Okay, and their evil intentions. Unfortunately, we share a large boundary with them. Okay, and these current disputes are not hidden to anybody. Okay, so the problem is that the information precisely is very. That's why our information becomes very, very, you can say, important to us, and the devices which we use. Okay, whether it is your mobile is there or whether it is a laptop is there. Okay, we are working without having any trouble, but there might be a spyware is there, or there may be a, you can say, a hardware trojan is there, which is sitting and passing all vital information to all our enemy nations. Okay, sometimes it might not be the enemy nations, but just for the sake of, you can say, creating the virtual identity and the of the people. Countries like USA or UK or Russia can get all this information. So this is so security has become very important aspect because we actually we don't know. Okay, what is happening behind the walls? Okay, behind the digital wall, what is happening? It is not known to us. Okay, we do our daily work. Okay, and relax with peace. But the thing is this: the things can actually be dangerous, and we are unaware of that. So, that is so that this actually brings to the main requirement for the information security, which is the confidentiality, integrity, authentication, and the non-repudiation and the access control. Okay, these are the basic things are there. So I will not go more into this, but in short, I will just say, as I said it earlier as well, that whatever the information we are providing and whatever precisely the uh, whatever the information we are transmitting, that should be secure enough so that even the quantum computer, world's best quantum computer, cannot crack it. Okay, so that precisely should be our, because our motto, and it is actually our aim in this entire journey. When we talk about the basic security, you can say, infrastructure, it is very much like that of the, you can say, the encryption and you can say decryption based, and it is very much like that of the lock and the key. Okay, so I lock the data. Okay, I have a key. Okay, and then I send it. Okay, I have another key which actually unlocked it. So I'm to say, in the old Hindi or the English movies you would have seen, when the information is sent, actually it is in a locker. There is one key here and one key at the destination. So the person locks here, the person at the destination unlocks there. Okay, and you can say you can say the box or the almirah, whatever you can say, locker is actually is transported safely to safely from one place to another. So this is the same way. Okay, this is a very simple thing. So we have the encryption, which is precisely in the plain form. Okay, we you can say encrypt it with in some particular way. Okay, transmit it, and there is a mechanism by which actually we decrypt and retrieve the actual information. So this precisely is clear, and let's see what is the best level of things we can do. But here actually when we see this very basic infrastructure, okay, here, so there are a lot of things which actually we need to. There are a lot of things actually which we really need to cater here. Okay, although this looks a very simple one, the something precisely is there. One thing precisely is there. Uh, uh, Whatever the time actually I'm spending, okay, digitally, because we are living in a digital world, okay, that should be as less as possible. Okay, that is first requirement, or you can say, or I can call it the some part of the constraint as well. Okay, and it should provide me as best security as possible. So if we just look at it, these are the two poles. I'm to say two different poles. Okay, which are 180-degree. We can say apart, like the north pole or the south pole of this security ecosystem. So, so how to you can say address these two distinct qualities by one thing. Okay, so so that precisely we aim, okay, to address in this particular one. But before we begin, because so I have, you can say, discussed about that there is a threat and quantum machines are coming and so on. So what else precisely? So when we talk about the quantum computer is a machine that performs calculation based on the laws of quantum mechanics, which is the behavior of particles at the subatomic level. The bit of data is represented by a single atom that is in one of the two states denoted by this particular two symbols. Okay, and the single bit is known as the qubit also. Okay, so qubit precisely nothing but the superposition of the two states denoted by the addition of the state vectors. Okay, so this is an example precisely the 3-bit qubit register. Okay, this is the way we actually represent. Unlike the digital one, we just do the Boolean addition or subtraction. So that precisely is but this is precisely the very basic you can say the definition. So a quantum computer actually basically works on the as it is stated on the laws of the quantum mechanics. But specifically, and when you talk about the state of a particular you can say atom or so, it's really very hard, okay, to determine. Okay, it is in which state, because if I try to find the state, actually I cannot find the momentum. If I find the momentum, I cannot find the state. So that precisely is a big trouble. Okay, so so you can say the computations actually in this quantum computing you can say space, they are not actually very much like that of the predictive or the deterministic one. Okay, it very much you can say the stochastic one. Okay, so that part precisely is very much important. Second thing actually, which actually I just want to say that which is really the most important one, is that if I have to realize the quantum computer, okay, then I need a very big setup, and I have to maintain the temperatures at a one particular level itself, and that becomes really very difficult for us to you can say maintain. So some people are looking the superconductivity domains in order to you can say they are looking for some superconductivity domains in order to address you can I'm to say the issues, and they are trying even at the room temperature. If the superconductivity they can achieve, they actually can easily build a quantum computer, but that precisely comes in the domain of physicists also. Okay, so when we talk about the computations, I have told you like this, we really need a big infra there. Okay, so so the computation is performed by a quantum processing unit, or the QPU. So our CPU becomes the QPU here. The QPU runs in the extreme isolated environment. The physical enclosure is shielded by cryogenic refrigeration, shielded in the IO system, and it should be isolated from the magnetic field, vibration, RF signals of any form. Okay, that's required. That's very much important, because so if there is any interference, okay, so it will actually you can say that particular field will interact with the electrons in an atom, and will change the states of the atom, and if the states of the atom changes, the information changes, and I want to say then the whole data actually will get corrupted. So in order to do this, actually the high vacuum environment and the temperature close to 150 times colder than the interstellar space are used to be maintained. Okay, so so I'm to say, like we have the instructions there, machine instructions. We are having the quantum machine instructions there. Okay, so it actually uh, we actually just analyze the problem using the quantum machine instructions. Okay, and and I'm to say and analyze this. And specifically, one of the biggest problem is something like I'm to say, in order to if I really want to, you can say reach up to a good level, then like the normal computing environment, then we need to use an API, we need to use an we need to have an OS, we need to have the actual programming languages which supports quantum computer also. Okay. Here in this particular, I would like to bring to your kind attention that when we talk about the quantum computing, the quantum computing is something like it actually, you can say, targets for the parallel processing, or I can say the embracing the parallel processing. Okay. So it is because there are multiple, you can say, qubits in a set actually can attack one particular condition and they can do the job. Okay. Uh, so here actually I can say that if I have a very simple example, on the classical computers also you can do this. Okay, but takes larger time. Although this example is not very much apt for the quantum computing, but to you can say define the very concept I am using this. Okay, so a matrix multiplication, all of us know. Okay, suppose I have a matrix of size a million cross million, right? So that's huge. Okay, million cross million will actually occupy uh, terabytes of data. Okay, quite a lot amount of data actually on the disk, right? And we don't have that much of the space. Okay, so let's say I store this entire information in the quantum computer. Okay, then the entire, I'm to say, not only I can use the information, I can process the information. Okay, in parallel as well. So this is one particular one, because here specifically when you say that the 3-bit qubit register, okay, this is the superposition all possible states are there. So in, let's say, in the 3-bit qubit, actually I store more information. Okay, usually in the classical one I use the one bit to store one, we can say only one information. But in three qubits, actually 3-bit qubit, 3-bit, or you can say the 3-qubit register. Okay, we can use we can store more even let's say quite a lot of information. So our, you can say, the storage requirement also gets dropped down. Okay. When we talk about the classical versus the quantum computer, the classical has the conventional bits like the ones or the zeros are there. In the quantum computing, qubits are represented by this particular symbol. Okay, and the superposition of them. Okay, and here specifically the A and B are the complex numbers. Okay, but here this is one and zeros are the simple, because the logic levels are there. Okay, if and one number takes m bits, then storing n number will take n cross m bits are there. But here actually you can say vast number of information can be stored in several qubits. So 3 qubits coefficients are something like this. Okay, so n to power 8, you can say, is there for the n degree of the freedom is there. So I can have really a large number of you can say bits can be stored, specifically the information can be stored in the 3 qubits. Operate single instruction at a time in the single processor, always perform multiple processing simultaneously. Okay, uses many existing classical algorithms for data processing, and the classical we have actually, you can say, progressed a lot, but quantum computer we still have to do, because most of things are theoretical. Okay, and people actually have some kind of mechanisms to demonstrate that this will work. But specifically, but specifically when we say the quantum computer, only few well-known algorithms are there. Okay, and after the time when the computational power increase exponentially for solving the NP-hard problem. Okay, and but here the NP-hard problem is can be processed easily and faster, because this is our thing precisely is very much the security based. So specifically, it is important to know that so this particular, when we talk about the yeah, the quantum computer one, let's say the RSA or you can say 4096 bit RSA algorithm. If we just look at it, the classical one, it takes millions the billions of years to crack that, you can say, code. But when we talk about a quantum computer, a certain number of qubits, okay, let's say the 5,000 qubit quantum computer is good enough to, you can say, crack that particular code, okay, in just 30 minutes. Okay, so this is the problem. Okay, and if anybody achieves it, then everything becomes vulnerable. Okay, nothing can be safe. Okay, then all our passwords, banking information, everything will actually will be there at stake. Okay, so that's the problem. When we talk about the, I'm saying when we are talking about not many algorithms are there. Okay, so when we talk about the quantum computer and the quantum algorithms, uh, uh, I'm to say I mean, how long will it take? Okay, that we will be able to run the algorithms over the quantum computers or so. Okay, the people are anticipating that we will cross over by 2023 or so. Okay, and we will accelerate quantum computing in we will by we will accelerating by quantum computers in 10 to 20 years or so. One of the Nobel laureates recently said that it will take 50 years for us to get a laptop having the quantum computing capability. I don't know whether in fact, if we see that day, I'm going to say that would really be great. Okay, but those days precisely, I'm going to say I don't know what would be the shape of the quantum computing. One of the biggest problem. Okay, I have to say if I just show you a few more things, okay, you will actually get convinced with me. Okay, when we talk about the quantum computing, this is quantum mechanics is there and other things, right? But one of the biggest problem, okay, in this entire domain, okay, is uh, uh, is the availability. I will prefer to say is the availability of the easy understanding in the concept of the quantum computing. What I mean to say, the digital logic, okay, or the Boolean logic, right, is very much easy. Okay, we understand it well because there were we were having only zeros and ones to represent, or the twos or the false to represent, right? Okay, but when we talk about the quantum computer, it is such kind of easy way of depicting the quantum computing or the quantum mechanics, and the application of this is still not there. Okay, so that precisely is in fact I myself couldn't find it. So when I'm learning, in fact still I'm in the learning phase. I cannot call myself as an expert. Okay, uh, the people precisely who understand this, they are mostly in the core theoretical background, and the proper physicists are there. But I have my own pains and the sorrows are there, and own moments of happinesses are there. But that is there because there is. Because I really have to struggle many times, okay, to understand something in this particular domain. So, and that actually I will say that the the most things were, you can say, written in the physics perspective. Okay, whereas we are the engineers, right? So the things should come up at the engineering perspectives as well, easy to understand and go. So once that happens, okay, so the design of quantum algorithms precisely will really be boosted up. So we have, you can say, we know precisely what is QC, how it works, okay, what are different kind of things, okay, and this is precisely, you can say, uh, this is actually, you can say, there are different security strategies are evolved, right? Okay, I would say if you just look at the cryptography in itself, it is one of the oldest, you can say, science we have, right? Even if we can consider our stories, right? Stories of uh, how can I say this? Even if I say the stories of the folk tales or something like this, right? In some stories, we always say that something is hidden. There is a map. You have to crack the map to, you can say, find the information. So that map precisely is the key, okay, to find the information. Okay, so we got to understand this thing. So, but mathematically, if you just come up with this thing, there are many, you can say, very advanced algorithms are there. AES, okay, DES, triple dash DES, okay, DSA, RSA, okay, Diffie-Hellman, okay, and which is there, okay, the elliptic curve DSA is there, and all those things are there. Then we are having the port-based cryptography, hash-based cryptography, lattice-based cryptography, okay, which actually turns into the quantum computing space. So this Diffie-Hellman, okay, elliptic cryptography, okay, all those things. It is actually, if you just look at it, this is a little bit, you can say, uh, this is recent actually. I'm saying I will consider in the last 20 years thing as the recent one only. Okay, so so this actually got evolved in last 20 years itself. Okay, but when we talk about the post quantum cryptography, I'm to say it will take really. I'm to say it will take really some time. Okay, it will really take some time to you can say to mature. Okay, and then the QKD and the OTP based system, besides the OTP in the one-time password I'm talking about, your codes also. Okay, so this quantum key distribution and the QKD is a quantum key distribution and the one-time password. This actually will make the system very very much secure. That is why all the banks and everywhere they have introduced actually the information signed to you, the you can say the higher level of the verifications. Although it is very much irritating, okay, but it is very much secure as well. So when we talk about this, 100 qubit system precisely will be good enough to, you can say, crack this AES. Okay, 600 qubit system is good enough to crack all this RSA also. When we say the 3600 qubit system will be good enough to crack the post quantum cryptography algorithms. Okay, and I'm to say if we just go ahead and so I don't know how many qubits will be required to crack this. Maybe this may be uncrackable because in the real time we are generating the numbers and we are doing something. But anyway, I'm to say God knows. Here I just say, okay. So so this precisely will really, so this thing will really take, okay, some time specifically to crack. But in the post quantum cryptography domain, okay, we will have to be very much that we actually can come up with better and better algorithms so that even this you can say number of qubits actually doesn't affect too much. One more thing precisely I would like to bring at this very particular point. I'm talking the PQC here. Okay. What is the post? Why it? I'm to say you can just say, ki, hey, why don't we use specifically the physics-based quantum system and the quantum cryptography? Why it is the post-quantum cryptography? Okay. So currently, whatever the infrastructure we have, okay, that precisely we are using, right? So, so the purpose is this, okay. If we can we design certain algorithms which classical anyway will not be able to solve, okay, but quantum also will also not be able to solve, okay. So even if the quantum, which is using its own parallel, you can say strategies or so, if it is starts, you can say cracking, even then it will take millions of years, okay. So there is no other way. So can we come up with such kind of algorithms? Okay. So in which actually we don't need to change we need to upgrade the infrastructure. Okay. But we get all the benefits, okay, of the very high security. Okay. So the post quantum actually cryptography actually deals in that particular domain itself. Okay. So this is so I think I will not take much time here specifically. Uh, So specifically, there's one theorem specifically. I just say that if how long does encryption needs to be secure at say the X year, how long the retool existing physical quantum say for the Y year, how long until the large scale quantum computing with the Z year is there. Okay, but here in this, I'm to say the Z is less than X plus Y. Okay, then we need to worry about it. I'm to say in my specifically prediction that for I come up with a solution and I claim that I am actually safe, okay, for X plus Y years, okay. So we need not to bother about it. But let's say somebody built the quantum computer, okay, in Z years and Z is very less as compared to less as compared to X plus Y. Then I'm to say I will be able to make the system vulnerable before the time, okay. So that is precisely is That is precisely is the Mosca theorem is there. It's very simple, but very relevant as well. So if you really have to, you can say come up with this, then we should our y x plus y should be such that it is quite large, and I'm to say in order to do that, even Z also will have to take really a large amount of time to build and beat the system. Okay, so that is there. So when we talk about the known quantum threats from the classical cryptography, we have obviously the secure network communication using VPN, the VPN, email communications, okay, web security, right? The public key infrastructure, so that the certificate authorities, the digital keys, digital signatures, okay, mobile app, software, cloud, everything actually will become vulnerable. Okay, so this is this precisely are some examples of the threats are there. So when we talk about the threat, sorry, excuse me, हेलो, yeah, अरे यार मेरे को ना ऑफिस जाने का टाइम ही नहीं मिल रहा है, ठीक है ना, मैं या तो ले आऊंगा या मैं कुरियर कर दूंगा, है ना, ओके ओके so So when we talk about the quantum algorithms, so which actually has to, okay, so I was talking about some quantum algorithms are there. So there are many, okay, specifically. So out of this, these quantum algorithms, the Shor's and the Grover algorithms are very much important. So when actually I can just narrate my own experience here. The Shor's algorithm precisely is to it works on the large, you can say, factorization, and the discrete log problems are there, and solve it in the polynomial time. Okay, there is somebody called the Groovers. Okay, so uh, when I was attending when I was a student attending, you can say one you can say talk in this particular domain. The person starting is a Love Grover. Okay, so not Grover, it's Love Groover. So I thought it's a Groover's algorithm, and I for a very long time I was very much citing that this is actually this is somebody called the Groover, right? So some foreigner also. But then actually I found it that this person is an Indian. Okay, uh, did his BTech in computer science from IIT Delhi in 80s. Okay, did PhD afterwards, and I think he's working with HP Labs or somewhere. Okay, and he has come up with the search algorithms. Okay, with the unstructured entries on the database, and it actually you can say expedite the query of the result. So it is a Grover's algorithm. This is you can say our core Indian you can say contribution in this particular domain. Okay, and they are the two very well known, well regarded algorithms in this particular domain. So Shor's algorithm precisely, if you just look at it, I'm to say it enables a quantum computer to factor a very large numbers in the polynomial time. Okay, and it uses quantum Fourier transform, quantum parallelism, or the arithmetic to do that. Okay, so what it does a fast factorization. Suppose I'm to say in the classical algorithm, so the n bit integer requires the complexity is exponential of n1 by 3 log n2 by 3. Okay, this precisely is something like pretty high. Okay, but Shor's algorithm precisely you can say on a quantum machine because it reduces the complexity at the order of n square log n log of n is there. Okay, so this becomes precisely quite small. Okay, although this it is quadratic, but because the log factor it actually reduces the time quite a lot. So quantum computer can factor a number in exponentially faster than the best known classical algorithm. So this is the exponential faster as compared to the best known classical algorithm is there. Okay, I skipped this slide. I think I just did some analysis here. So here actually I just say that if let's say we give the input actually is there. Okay, I'm to say so it must contain some qubits to represent the number as large as the q minus one up to okay. So input list precisely is then the 8 qubits are there, and the output. I think I skipped this thing because I will have to explain really a lot on this. But I think it's not very much required here. The only thing actually which I wanted to point it out here is that the Shor's algorithm is you can say the exponential faster as compared to is you can the best known classical algorithm is there. Okay. At the same time, specifically there is something called the quantum cryptanalysis is there. So the shows algorithm we can say efficiently solve NTF factorization the discrete algorithm. Okay, for the asymmetric cryptography scheme. Okay, but specifically when we talk about I'm to say the symmetric key encryption, the hashing function can potentially break down by the brute force using the Grover's algorithm. So if I have the hash function based crypto algorithm or the symmetric key one, I can we can break it using the Grover's algorithm because I have to find a solution where to find the key. So if I am able to find the key very fast, okay, then actually I can then actually I can do it in I can find the key in no time, okay, and I can unlock all the mysteries, okay. So if the AES 120 require 256 operation, okay, okay, so it can be completed by 264 operation on a quantum computer. So the 256 is quite high as compared to 264 is there. Okay, so that much of you can say reduction in the speed actually can be achieved on the quantum computer. Okay, so this is more or less this is precisely the summary of we can say the brute force and the Grover's algorithm is there. Okay, one is precisely targeting the factorization, one is precisely targeting the search. So RSA, the elliptical cryptography, okay, they become very much vulnerable to the source algorithm. Okay, and the AES and SHA-2 are very much vulnerable to the Grover's algorithm. Here, when I was presenting one of the talk, somebody asked me, how do you ensure that the algorithm factor which these people have proposed are very much quantum safe? Okay, so this is actually very valid one because here if I say ki everything is vulnerable, okay, and I'm to say I can do it on the I can run it on the quantum computer also, that is fine. But if I come up with an algorithm which is a PQC, okay, then whether my PQC is quantum safe or not, how do I, you can say, ensure about it? Okay. So as of now, I'm going to say we can always say that whatever is the current, you can say, advancements are there in the quantum computing and uh, what are the other precisely what are the okay, I just say yeah, so in future, okay, it may become vulnerable, right? But if you just remember the Moscow theorem, I'm to say my timeline should be so big and my complexity should be so high that even a quantum computer will have to take really a lot of time. Okay, uh, much more time than the human lifetime to crack the code. Okay, otherwise precisely it is not possible because ultimately, suppose I come up with a 100,000 qubit quantum computer, it is good enough to crack each and everything. Okay, so the development of the machines and the development in the technology cycle, okay, and the development of the algorithm and the complexity of the algorithm also determines the safeness, okay, of the particular algorithm. So similarly, it is here. So when we talk about the RSA, different the AES or SHA-2, okay, ultimately they have their own timeline, right? Okay, they know what where at which particular point they become vulnerable. Okay, so their vulnerability was very much determined as of now with the classical computers, but now with the quantum computer, their I would say their weak areas are started getting exposed. Okay, so so if you just look at it, I'm going to say for I think I will show you. Just give me. Okay, just give me. I just go to my mobile phone. Okay, so just give me a moment. Let me unshare for a moment, and I actually I share some data with you. Okay, and that precisely will really enable me to convince you that Okay, so you can see, I'm to say this is this is my lecture slides, which actually I used to take. Uh, Here, if you just look at it, this is a short factoring algorithm. Okay, with a classical computer, 1024 bits. Okay, 2048 bits and the 4096 bits, right? For this actually we are going with this. Okay, uh, I have I have the number of years varied, right? Because we have evolution, okay, in the classical computers as well. Now we are when we talk about the 2006, okay, building one petaflop system itself used to be a quite challenging. Okay, when Word reached as the world's first petaflop grade supercomputer, it was a it was a remarkable day. Okay, when we talk about this particularly, the systems were very much at the order of petaflops are there. These are, you can say, the hundreds of the petaflops there. And when we talk about the current date, okay, 2021, we are actually having the exascale system, right? So 1024 with those systems will take 10,000 years, and 2018 with those kind of classical supercomputers 36, 38 years, okay. But in 2014, they will take 3 days. So 2048 bits, the number of years you can see it just got increased enormously. Okay. Even I'm going to say the zillions of years will take to, you can break a, you can say 4096 bit, you can say the encryption scheme. But with the potential quantum computer running at a clock speed of 100 megahertz. But here, when we talk about this is the exascale supercomputer I'm talking about. Okay, but actually, but here specifically, I'm very much talking about or the octa-scale computer I'm talking about here. But the clock speed is only 100 megahertz. Okay, but when we talk about the number of bits, it's the same. But when we talk number of qubits, right? Okay, number of gates, okay, and the factoring time, if you just look at it, okay, with 5124 qubit system, okay, I can factor it in. I can break the code in 4.5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. 2048 is 36 minutes, and 4098 is 5 hours. Okay, it is not more than that. But at the same time, I need a bigger, you can say, yeah, I need to have precisely uh, the bigger qubit quantum computer is there. So here you can say the number of bits are getting doubled, and here also number of qubits are also getting doubled. Okay, so that precisely is very much required in order to you can say crack it. But yes, if it becomes true, then I would say entire world nowadays using 4096-bit encryption. So many of the codes will become you can say available. Okay, the secret keys in just 5 hours. Okay, so that precisely is very much important here. So this is the security vulnerabilities here. Okay. Again, this is a summary of what has been, you can say, cracked by the help of the Grover's algorithm and what has been cracked by the Shor's algorithm, right? So that precisely is there. So when so there are two ways. Okay, so as I've told you earlier some time back, what can we do? Okay, so the something I'm going to say, this is a challenge, then we need to have the solution. So there are two ways actually I can use. So I can enhance the security. One is the quantum cryptography. Okay, using the quantum medium itself. Okay, so we should have the other communication happens in the quantum cryptography with the help of the photons and the ions. Okay, and we measure I'm going to say the probabilistic properties. Okay, and I'm going to say that the things precisely are need to be operated in a lossless medium. Okay, and there is a big problem of we can say if we have to if we are able to do this, but how to do the long distance communication without deep coherence. Okay, and we have to make a very sophisticated and very precise measurement devices because their delta variation in the in the measurement will definitely lead to a lot of corruption. A lot of corruption means a lot of error correcting codes running in the background. Okay, and a lot of error correcting codes running in the background. It means that it is it is it I would say it is affecting the performance of the system, right? Okay, if let's say the two or more photons interact each other, okay, they can change the information content. So there's a big problem with the quantum cryptography. But yes, maybe we can we actually make the suitable advancement in this particular arena, and we actually can achieve this. When we talk about the post-quantum cryptography here, I just told you earlier that use the same infrastructure, right? Okay, and I'm to say we can use the same classical infrastructure, okay, and even with the advent and the evolution of quantum computer will not affect it, okay. There are four broad types are there: the hash-based, the lattice-based, multivariate, code-based, chaotic dynamic system-based, and so on. Okay, we use the trapdoor function. Actually, that can easily be breakable where the quantum logic is there, and we use this to, we can say, define, we can say, upgrade the security of the algorithm here. It has certain problems there. Okay, the key size is large, and these are mostly symmetric one. Okay, while the classical one, you can say, are very much asymmetric key cryptography is also there in place. Okay, and I'm to say it requires some more resources to generate and compute the same key length. Okay, I'm to say if the same key length is there, it takes a more resource on a quantum computer as compared to classical one. So that precisely is a big problem here. So these are precisely some algorithms are there. The NTRU, okay, multivariate quadratic, MacLeese, okay, Merkle. So isogenesis, that's something that super this SID algorithm is a super singular elliptic curve, isogenesis, there SID, and all those things are there. So there are code-based, hash-based, lattice-based, and the you can a chaotic dynamic system-based algorithm is there. But chaotic dynamic precisely is very much added by us. Hopefully, it may get recognition in near future. Okay, so these are the broad classification the algorithms are there in the PQC domain. I will a little bit, you can say, speed up here because there is some basic information is there which is available on the net as well, and basically in the books as well. Okay, so this is this is a little bit actually this little bit precisely I will say some information of all these five basic classes I will give you. Okay, so the code base precisely is very much based on the MacLeese public key encryption that uses error correcting code to hide content of a message during transmission on an unreliable channel. Okay, the message sender deliberately adds an error in order to protect the content of a message against the eavesdropper. That's the code based. Hashbit precisely it is based on a lamp by Diffie and the Winters who demonstrate how to convert Merkel's one-time signature scheme into many time signature schemes are there. Okay, there are one-to-many mapping, and out of one-to-many, only one is true. Okay, although there is security issue with the statefulness requiring the reusage of the private key material, and but the new variants are very much considered quantum resistant that allows stateless scheme with the larger signature sizes. So although I'm reading you can say verbatimly, but I have to say there are the people precisely they have generated the hash. They are generating the hash. Okay, signatures precisely with the larger key sizes, the larger signature sizes. Okay, so that it becomes really difficult, right? Similarly, the elliptic curve, the isogeny is very difficult in finding the isogeny between the supersingular elliptic curves are there. Okay, so here the people use the elliptic curve precisely to generate the post-quantum cryptography, you can say, algorithms here. But lattice precisely something is very much important because this is something actually I would kind of take a little bit time here because when actually it was so it actually is provides us really a lot of flexibility. Okay, when I talk about flexibility, it's not only in terms of the understanding also, but it is also in terms of but it also in the terms of what should I say? Mm, the implementation perspective. Okay, I will show you certain results, then actually you will know. Okay, so Raghav introduced this learning with errors based on lattice problem, which serves as the basis for a variety of public key encryption and a signature scheme. So then in 2010, I'm to say group actually also the same group introduced the ring learning with errors, okay, or the ring LWE, okay. And in fact, and that not only improvises the security, but also you can say reduce the key sizes. Okay, all are there. So this precisely is you can say different algorithms are there, and the security wise they are actually you can order. So you can see that the lattice multivariate specifically. So there are, so I'm going to say here specifically when we talk about the little bit I will for the multivariate thing. When we talk the multivariate cryptography, uh, when we do the classical cryptography, we are playing with the numbers, okay. But when actually we are talking with any of these, the code base, hash bits, the ECC curve, so we are working with the polynomials most of the time, okay. So there, in the classical one, we do, let's say, for example, we do the standard multiplications, okay. But here we do the multiplication with the polynomials, okay. And based on the polynomials, actually we generate the maps, okay. And those using those maps precisely, we generate the actual keys and other things, okay. Uh, if in classical cryptography we are multiplying the two matrices, okay, here we are multiplying the tensors also, okay. So these are precisely you can say we do this thing so that to increase the complexity, okay, number one, okay, in the calculations, okay, and generate more redundant specifically so that the security specifically cannot be compromised. So when we talk about the multivariate thing, I'm to say I'm not talking about the x and y in the z. I'm not only the x variable. I'm talking about the x, y, z, a, b, c, d, up to as many as possible. So what we have done specifically, we have actually attempted the lattice-based multivariate cryptography one. Okay, so the tensor multiplier which actually we have developed, right? That one specifically is a multivariate tensor multiplier, and it can actually multiply any tensor of any order. So that part precisely is there. Okay, so the lattice-based schemes are the lightweight and more difficult in QC to break due to the smaller key size for both symmetric and the asymmetric crypto system. Okay, and is useful for many types of application multivariate for the homomorphic property. So whether it is people are now very much on the anti-RU hash, okay, or the ECC versus is based, but what our precisely is you can say findings are there. It very much coincides, it very much agrees with the what people have suggested. Lattice multivariate precisely is the best among all. So that's why we also target the lattice multivariate here. Okay, so I think I just quantum safe lattice implementation. There are many are there. Okay, but I think I skipped this one. Okay, so if we have to, you can say design. You can say a PQC algorithm is a post-quantum cryptography algorithm. Ultimately, you have not only to design because you can find one algorithm which is designed by somebody, okay, some physicist or a mathematician, okay, but you can pick that algorithm. You can actually accelerate that, okay, using FPGAs or GPUs or the combination of both, okay, and that can be a good, you can say, research problem there, right? So when we talk about the building block of the PQC, okay, you require a pseudo random number generator is there. The custom multivariate polynomial, you can say modular multiplier is a tensor polynomial modular multiplier. Okay, you need to, you can say, design your own, you can say the bootloader is there so that actually you can, your algorithm can actually can integrate with the SOC platform. Okay, these three things are there. So one by one, actually, I'm taking all these three things. These are the three prime components are there. So we actually have so there's a Blum Shab and the Zor shift algorithms are there. So we use this two algorithms, and then actually we have generated the BlueZor algorithm there. Okay, and this BlueZor precisely when actually we have implemented. This is the architecture level diagram for the BlueZor. Okay, it takes the 32-bit as a word and it returns the 32-bit as a another word. Okay, and this input precisely output precisely the 32-bit random number is there. So when actually we generate a random number, right? One of the most important part that it should be non-repeatable. Okay, ideally, it must never be repeated. Okay, but is that possible? Okay, if it is there, then it means that I am searching in an infinite space. Okay, so that precisely is not very much true. Okay, so if it is repeating, so it must be repeated after a very long time. That is very much okay with me. Okay, so So specifically, the one actually which we have, I'm to say, the one beside it, which actually we have, you can say designed up, right? So there's the first one precisely for the Blum shop. This is precisely for the Shift, and this precisely is the Blue Zor. Okay, so the Blue Zor which actually we have used, okay, takes the advantage of both this BBS and the Shift and produce a very reliable. You can say random number generator where the repeatability is almost next to nil. Okay. This is just for your information because we have implemented it over FPGA. Okay. So this was very much tested at the hardware level itself. Okay. There are actually when we are very much designing this Blue Zor, at the same time we have come up with something called the MPCG. Okay, so MPCG precisely also we have you can designed on our own because that was we have because this if you just look at it, it was quite resource intensive was there. So in order to optimize the resources, we have come up with something called the MPCG, and we have found it is as good as the Blue Zor is there. Okay, we have used the scatter plots to you can say the normalized random generated by the Blue Zor and the MPCG, and we have found that it is to say this is giving us very convincing result precisely. Okay, and when we have tested both the you can say this the scheme precisely with the die height attribute also. Okay, the Blue Zor and the MPCG, we have found that it is precisely quite a lot better as compared to many other algorithms are there, which are precisely very much existing. Okay, so this is there. Blue Zone, sorry, Blue Zone precisely you can say pass all the test, but MPCC in one of the tests we have found it is nearly acceptable. Okay, so the NIST actually benchmark also we ran this test precisely. Okay, and we have found that the Blue Zone again was flying passing with the flying colors and like BBS or the Zorshift, they were compromising at multiple places, but MPCC in one place only, and this is very much acceptable. Okay, so here I'm to say that particular PNG fails to pass a particular test. Okay, but if number percentage which we are getting reported, right, until it changes after 6th place of decimal, but many times actually that is very much acceptable. But since it was we have chosen a limited at over -6 of our threshold. So it was, you can say, it was just changing at that particular location. So that's why actually we have declared it as fail, but it is very much acceptable. Okay. So Blue Zor precisely is, you can say, is giving us the very convincing results here. Okay. And we have used these two, to say, we have used precisely our own, you can say, random number generator, okay, to generate a random number, okay, in our proposed scheme. Okay, second is the tensor polynomial multiplier is there. So if we actually multiply a single variable, this is the architecture for the multiplier. But actually, if you do the model multiplication block for the multivariate one, then I'm to say this each one can be seen as that of a block itself. And this actually just the complexity of the multiplier actually you can see increases many fold. Okay, so if we really have to, we can say implement this in the best possible manner, in a more optimum manner, then that's the key. Okay, so I will not go and describe that what the tensor is. Okay, and what is the multilinear maps and everything. Sorry, what the tensor is, it's very much known to all of you. Okay, but I will just say that the polynomial multiplication is a tensor map. Okay, and tensor is a multilinear map. Okay, which actually spans over the multiple number of vector spaces of the finite dimension. Okay, so here specifically, I'm to say if you have to multiply the two polynomials, actually that actually can be seen as a you can say mapping, or it can be a function which actually maps from the V to V. Okay, the V V cross V to V. Okay, so that is there. So that particular I'm to say we have to realize. So this particular tensor multiplication. Okay, I'm to say if we just look at it, we implement in the MATLAB. Okay, so there are, so before multiplying, you can say the tensor thing in the polynomial, we have to go for the graded. We have to, you can say, Lexicographically we have to order all the monomials. Okay, so once we do this, okay, then we divide the product by the quotient polynomial, and actually we generate the we actually make the this entire, you can say, the tensor is there. Okay, so that part is there, and then actually we use this in the lattice based cryptography scheme is there. So when we talk about the lattice based cryptography scheme, or when I go further on that, okay, before that actually I take only 2 minutes of the break, okay, and then actually I begin again. So all of you, I just request all of you to just take a 2 minutes break, and then I begin again. Thank you.
Sir, you're muted, I think.
No, no, I am not muted. I'm just counting to come.
Okay,
So
okay.
no, no. Okay. So
Okay,
actually, I
sir.
was thinking what I have to skip and what I have to say. Okay. So because these are mathematical equations are there, so I think I prefer not to speak much on this because okay, so I will just say something and then actually I will. Okay, so let's begin again. So here I'm going to say we have said that okay, fine. We precisely did this. You can say these two actually photographs are very much defining this polynomial matrix multiplier. Okay, and using this actually we implement the about lattice space scheme. So lattice is nothing but the periodic structure of you can say n independently and linearly independent vectors. Okay, in an n-dimensional space is there, and we take it and that's nothing but the algebraic sum of this. If you look at it. Okay, now we have to use this particular lattice. Okay, to implement the PQC. So in order to PQC, suppose I am having a message M is there. Okay, and this message I'm to say and I have to precisely, like I have to generate a from the message I have to generate the ciphertext is there. Okay, so okay, uh, so I have to generate a ciphertext is there. So what I have to do, I have to I'm to say that particular message precisely is that message precisely is you can say this M, capital M is sorry, the capital M precisely is the message matrix is there, which actually just get multiplied by some random matrix. Okay, and this M and the R which are being generated in this particular algorithms are there. Okay, and we multiply this. Okay, and we multiply for the every, you can say the message bit is there. Okay, and we generate the ciphertext for that. Okay, so that precisely I just this particular entire thing says even this also. Okay, how we're generating this one. I think this is if I just have to say this the fully this homomorphic, the FHE, I think is a better way to say so. I think so here in this precisely we are having a message bit. Okay, we are having so we are having precisely a method for the key generation. So for the key is generated. Okay, just a moment. Was the key is generated? Okay, and I am having a message bit is here. Okay, so one message bit. Okay, and this F precisely is you can say is the matrix precisely which is being generated from some, let's say the Gaussian or some kind of distribution. Is some distribution actually I use to generate the randomness. So some randomness precisely I have added to the message, and E is nothing but the error vector. Okay, so some E is the error vector. Sometimes you can call the noise also, you can say. So noise is added to this message. Okay, and then actually you transform this entire whatever is there to the ciphertext is there. So that precisely is the way we actually do the encryption. Okay, so SK is the key is there. So this with the help of the key precisely we generate this F. Okay, some intermediate matrix is there, and then that used to generate the ciphertext is there. Okay, so this generation precisely. So yeah, just a moment. Sorry, 8 minute. Just a moment. Yeah. So when we so this generation precisely takes so this generation precisely takes really a lot of time. But here in our case specifically, what we have done when we have implemented it. Okay, so we have implemented in such a way that the size is also reduced. Okay, so here this is R matrix is there, which actually you can say this is a message matrix is there called the M is there. So here we are having the zero sum matrix and the identity matrix, and one R1 matrix is there, which is nothing but we can some matrix of R is there. Okay, so here also I'm going to say we have to store this particular matrix, right? So but storing the matrix, okay, of certain size, okay, always occupy this space. So here specifically in order to boosted this thing up, okay, this key generation and the further processing, we actually have used the sparse matrix storage format, okay, and we process on that sparse data structures as well. Okay, so which reduce the space requirement. Okay, otherwise this will really be too much for us. Okay, and then once we reduce this, okay, once we reduce the space requirement, okay, then the matrix vector multiplication also precisely get increased. So in this entire thing, when if you have to do the matrix to matrix multiplication or the tensor multiplication, so matrix vector multiplication is being called, okay, as a subroutine. Okay, so the matrix vector multiplication, if we just say it is like of the order of O(n) square. Okay, so for a matrix, okay, for a tensor, if I just multiply, this turn out to be in the order of cubic or even higher. Okay, so that is why specifically we are very much so that is why precisely we are very much you can say concerned about its size also. Okay, that the size over the FPGA or on the ASIC itself. Because if we use the ASIC, then we have to, you can say, design extra memory to save all the information. Okay, then little bit mass is there, so I'm ignoring all this mass specifically. But the gist actually I'm just telling you. So for the encryption, as I've told you earlier, that we have to generate this M, MI, FA, and the E. Okay, and with the help of this precisely, we generate the ciphertext is there. Okay, so this entire this encryption scheme. Okay, we use I'm to say in order to do this, we use actually I'm to say we also use the recryption. So recryption is nothing but the re-encryption is there. Okay, and recryption actually works only on the you can say the schemes which actually exhibit the homomorphicness also. So homomorphism actually. Okay. The one actually which we have chosen exhibit homomorphism, so we actually use the re-encryption there. Okay. So what is the re-encryption precisely? It will just coming forward. That actually in this particular you can say re-encryption. Okay. Suppose I just add you can say the two C1 plus C2 is there, so I can do the direct addition in this particular manner itself. So the whatever issue M1 plus M2 R F1 plus R plus F2 Z is there. On the respective fields actually I can add and do the calculation, right? And I can also retrieve the same information. So whatever actually I'm doing in the ciphertext, okay, whatever actually I can do the plain text, I can do on the ciphertext as well, okay, and that will not change. You can say the final outcome. So, but this particular homomorphism actually increased. You can say the security, or you can say the strength in this entire scheme, and produces specifically and produces both addition and the multiplication, and produces actually a very rugged you can say this you can say a very strong, very rugged ciphertext is there. Okay, so this entire thing actually we have implemented the Sage math. Okay, so this is there. So generate the key. Okay, do the you can say use the encryption unit. Okay, input the noise, input the message bits. Okay, input this matrix M1 FA is specially being generated with the help of your sum. You can say the key generation input is there. Okay, and this as is the key is there, secure key is there using this HSM scheme is there, and then actually we have to also provide it to the decryption unit as well. Okay, and in the encryption precisely we use this FA noise and the message bit, and we encrypt and then we provide it. Okay, for the recryption precisely we use the homomorphic addition and the homomorphic multiplication unit is there. Okay, and we provide precisely we actually come up with the homomorphic addition and the homomorphic ciphertext is there, which actually we use for the communication, or wherever we want to communicate using the standard channels are there. Okay, so this is the overall block is there. Okay, and for the key generation, encryption, decryption, okay, we actually work according to the schemes which are there. Each of these schemes, okay, specifically, okay, are very much linear in nature. Okay, so in our case precisely, where actually we have used precisely this matrix M is there. Okay, because we have to generate, so this matrix R is there, which we have to generate also. So these particular matrices are first of all sparse in nature, because I have already shown it to you here. Okay, and we use the sparse you can say data structures to sparse matrix data structures to save this information. Okay, and not only that, I'm to say for the processing also we use the you can say multiple blocks. Okay, so we use the parallel computing architecture. Okay, to process the data. In our case, our size is 32 cross 32. Okay, and we tested with that size specifically, and we have found that because that is size we have chosen because we were able to you can say save that much over the FPGA board which we have. Okay, so it was 32 cross 32 is there, but it is precisely very much you can say scalable. Even on a larger board, we have used the 128 cross 128 and 1024 cross 1024 size matrix, and it was easily implementable. Okay, we have used 1024 you can say parallel blocks to do the addition as well as the multiplication. Okay, so that is why which was precisely one of the most important tasks. So this entire you can say this encryption scheme, the complexity, okay, where the multiplication is there, okay, it turned out to be, or the you can say the homomorphic addition is there. Overall it turned out to be very much linear in there. Okay, so in the linear time, okay, we are performing these two operations out there. So which actually confirms and that this actually confirms that this entire scheme will not take too much of the time. At the same time, it will provide the best level of the security. Okay, so you remember I was telling that there are two opposite ends are there. Okay, one is the smallest possible time, and one is the best level security. How to you can say connect both the points. So this is the way actually we have connected, and our you can say the test specially which you perform of our algorithm, they are also passing. So this particularly I'm using a lattice-based schemes are there, okay, which we see as a lattice-based multivariate schemes, which we see as a future, okay. We can vouch, okay, that this is precisely very much. So this is precisely very much we can say doable and very much implementable, okay. So we implemented this entire thing in the Verilog, okay, and we use the system Verilog to do this as well, okay. Uh, and we use the Vivado and the Synopsys tools also. We have to, you can say, generate the ASIC part also. So similar to the modular operation, precisely we have also used it. So when actually we do this operation here, I'm just C is equal to M plus FA plus C. Okay, so this actually increases the size. I'm just the size of the overall the total bits actually becomes more than N, but we have to map the result into the N. So that's why we have to, you can say, use the modular operation to, you can reduce the size. Okay, and you can map it in a new one. You can in this the N bits only. So that actually also we have to use it here. Okay, so that is the way. That is why we use the modular function here, because control is there to control everything. Multiply is there to do the multiplication, and the matrix multiply is there to do you can say the standard one. So this is a very simple block. Okay, we have implemented, but this simple block here we are doing the tensor. We are using the our own, you can say, very rugged random number generator, our own very efficient tensor matrix. You can say tensor matrix multiplier is there. Okay, and we are using everything on our own, including the model function is there. It generates a ciphertext is there. Okay, and the okay. So this is just the, you can say, some kind of the research output is there. Okay, and this is precisely the synthesized one using our this is using our FPGA board is there. So we are using the Jink, and we have implemented, you can say, using this with the PS and the PL is there. So I will little bit speed up here because this is otherwise this will I will not be able to say many things. So similarly, you can say the decryption unit also was implemented and tested, and it is giving us the properly correct results. So the one which we have implemented in the SageMath, okay, or in the software, I'm just for the similar input, it is producing the similar output there. Okay, right. So this is all there. Okay, so this is all there. Again, this is the, you can say, the implementation for this block is there. Then actually we actually generate the lightweight you can say key generation. I'm going to say this the one which we have used precisely. If you have seen the maths, okay, it was really a, I'm going to say, very time consuming maths are there. Okay, we have to use many things. So then what we have come up with, we have, we can say, made a lightweight this PQC algorithm, and I will not go deeper into this. Okay, but here specifically we have used the re-encryption or the homomorphic addition multiplication quite a lot, and when actually we have generated this is precisely is the signals of that particular block. Okay, with a very, you can say, small space, we were able to come with a very lightweight homomorphic scheme is there. Okay, so that precisely you can see this is the final synthesis one. Very less number of, you can say, intact and the wires out there and so on. Okay, so similarly for the decryption is there. This is a Jink associate architecture block is there, which actually we have used for our particular you can say implementation purposes. Okay, so we have used precisely the this application processes unit. Okay, and we have you can say compute. We actually put our own design in the FPGA. Okay, and then actually we have tested it with the real-time inputs as well. Okay, so it was working perfectly fine. Okay, so this is the way precisely the hardware encryption block is there. So there is something called the PS and the PL is there. Okay, so this is below this is nothing but the you can say the FPGA is there. Above this precisely is the, you can say, the processor is there. So on the FPGA there was a ARM processor is there. So we use the ARM processor to generate the test vectors and all. Okay, provided to the FPGA, and which FPGA actually processed. Okay, so that part actually we have done. And so this particular, you can say, the overall work done, the chaos-based encryption scheme precisely we have used here. So we are using again the same thing. We are having the ALU. We are having precisely our own custom implementation out there, and we have used it. So this is a simple JetBoard is there. I skip this. This is the device tree of the JetBoard precisely which are used in our design. Okay, and we have precisely this is showcase how we have connected our PC to the I'm to say to the FPGA using the ARM protocols also. Okay, so we can say made our own bootloader using the device tree, and we have designed our own file system. In fact, we have designed our you can say used one file system. Okay, and we have you can say customized as per our own need. Okay, so that made our work very easy. Okay, similarly the kernel also we have customized here. Okay, we have used the remote terminal to you can say connect it to the JetBoard SoC and use Ethernet to connect it over. Okay, so this is a user interface precisely which we have also designed here. Okay, and using our user interface in the background, this kind of you can say okay. So this is a live. So we were able to connect. This is a live terminal of the working Linux on the JetBoard. This actually I have just played it for the information part. Okay. When you talk about the PS side, for communicating with the PL and I'm to say, so this is precisely I would say we have precisely come up with our own protocol. Okay, to communicate from the PS to the PL. PS means the ARM processor, PL means the FPGA. Okay, and we have used the AXI bus and the protocol to do that. So this is precisely the way we were able to connect it. The different values are being you can read and so. Okay, and then finally we were able to you can see this is a standard you can say SoC is there. For the IoT standalone system is there. So we are having the FPU, VRAM controllers are there. Okay, and here is the PQC core is there. So specifically we use the PQC core to decrypt and encrypt, and use the other things are very much same. So our core is our IP, which we call our IP is very much pluggable in any of the designs. Right from the 180 nanometer technology to 22 nanometer technology without having any difficulty. And this precisely is the SoC. To say this is this is the low power you can say IoT system. So the SoC low power standalone system is there. So with the CPU core also, we were able to very much use our core without having any problem is there. Okay. Quickly, actually, I will demonstrate. I will just go over I will just discuss mostly just the idea. Okay, how we use the chaos, right? So I'm going to say chaos is a natural phenomena. Okay, I just say. So that when we talk about the chaotic system is there, I'm going to say it's a you can say that it's a natural noise of the is there. Okay. In order to generate, okay, a proper, I'm going to say cryptography is very much depend on the input we provide. Okay, so if the number is really random, okay, our output is really very good. Okay, so that is why the random number generator is very much important. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing, the people use like even the quantum computer mechanics or computing to generate the random number. They call the QRNG. People use the HRNG, the hardware random number generator. They use the leakage of within the transistor to generate the noise also. All those things are there. So when we talk about the chaotic, so we have studied the chaotic double pendulum system. Okay, and how does it precisely comes with a you can say how actually it does it depends the system itself, and based on this precisely we have come with a chaotic triple pendulum system. Okay, so this chaotic triple pendulum system equations are so huge I simply cannot present it here. Okay, in fact in the paper actually which we have submitted to IEEE, we did not you can say we were not able to produce the actual triple pendulum chaotic equations are there, which actually we have implemented. They were really very huge. Okay, so we have actually used this to generate the key to generate the key, and we have used the Fisher G static test to see whether the key is getting correctly passed or not. Okay, so this precisely is so we used all these parameters which actually you are seeing here. Okay, as the parameters for the keys there. Okay, so key generating using the triple pendulum system parameters. Okay, and once the key is generated, okay, we have checked whether the we have tested the periodicity of the key. So the key turned to pretty much aperiodic in nature. Okay, and so that says that this actual system can actually be used. Okay, and then we use the chaotic map and our key and the deterministic map and the other key to, you can say, to produce a ciphertext. Okay, and then do the decryption after that. So this actually we have used the encryption. You can say here specifically for this. Okay, and to say to your surprise, the complexity of the system is not linear, but little bit higher than linear. But definitely it is more rugged as compared to any other known methods are there in the same domain. Okay, so similarly decryption is there also the same thing. And so what we have done, this is the three images we have taken. Okay, this is the original histogram is there, and this is the encrypted image is there, and this is the encrypted image histogram is there. So somebody actually, you can say, takes the encrypted image, so the person will not be able to retrieve the actual image. Okay, and that we have tried a lot. Okay, with the different combinations, and this is a decrypted image is there. So this entire scheme works precisely. Okay, I just skip this part because this is I'm just saying these are used for my own purposes as well. So in order to implement precisely, because I have to implement this lot of cheetahs also. So and I implemented in the FPGA. So I have used sorry, we have used precisely the LUT quite a lot. Okay, and what we have found precisely with the LUT with the post, some kind of the postfix evaluation strategies. Okay, and the custom stack, we were able to implement this thing in really with a good efficiency. Okay, so I'm just skipping this part because this will actually explanation will also take a lot of time. Okay, so this is, I'm directly saying that this is all our you can say this is actually all our you can say the validation of the system. Here also, I'm just the entire the chaos-based taper panel systems are implemented in the MATLAB and the SageMath, two different platforms we have used it. Okay, and then we have implemented the same algorithm over FPGA, and we have found that for the same input precisely and the same condition, the output coming out to be same. So the image encryption decryption, which actually I have shown you, this also actually we have tested it over the FPGA, and we have found that it actually works. So this paper is very much available on the TechSlide. So you yourself can actually download and you can refer that. Okay. So if I have to conclude this, so I just say that the PQC precisely is something is very important. Okay, and its importance precisely is increasing day by day because the progress in quantum computing domain also is increasing day by day. Okay, so that is also there. And second thing, the accelerators. I'm going to say there are many people actually who are coming up with a large number of accelerators on the chip in as a co-processor. So so that makes our you can say the security again vulnerable because that also you can say people can do some brute force attack also, and a brute force attack is a randomized one. God knows who cracks who and when cracks. Okay, so that is all there. So particularly this is particularly this I can say that we can so particularly this actually I can say that this is the future. Second thing is that I would say we are leading toward a smarter world. Okay, people say the AI enabled world also. So the moment the AI comes, I'm to say data processing comes or the data science comes, and for the data actually you need to have the devices. Okay, and for the device actually, if you have to come the device converting the data, okay, then you really have to be very much careful. If you are wearing a wearable, okay, so and the device precisely is recording your heart rate, okay, then that data also is very much sensitive and only specific to you only, unless you authorize to be put in the public domain or for other uses as well. So for the IoT devices, lightweight cryptography algorithms are really the need of the hour. Okay, and we have come up with our own one lightweight cryptography algorithm, which is really, I'm to say, very lightweight in terms of the area, power, and the delay. Okay, so with this, actually, I conclude the talk. These are the few references are there. okay, which are very much can be found on the on the on the web, okay. So here is this particular task actually the cryptography algorithms in this my other colleague Professor Srinivasan Krishnaswamy, he is also working in the same domain. So Srini and this is a team of our two faculty members which actually worked on this. So the work which actually are presented mostly on the implementation side, but Srinivasan Krishnaswamy and Udipna Dovera, who was Srini's PhD student, they have also sufficient contribution in this entire, you can say, the post content cryptography work. So with this, I conclude my talk here. Okay, if you have any questions, you can always ask me. I'm willing to answer. Thank you.
So I request the participants, if they have some questions, please raise. And if there is no further query, then we will be closing this session.
Okay, Professor Manas, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. And if anybody has any query,
thank you so much, sir, for your.
And if participants want to connect me, I am always available through the mail. Okay, they can always connect me, and we can have a discussion. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So we are thankful to Dr. Gaurav Trivedi sir for his nice deliberations. So we hope that there will be in future also we'll have such deliberations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.